for some, it wouldn't even cross their minds. But for others, they're like, I'm sorry, what's your name? Because for some people, Stef would be like a feminine name. So then it like is like, Seth? And it's like, no. It's like Stef, like with a T and an F, you know? Yeah, and maybe I'm just more, I don't know, primed to be like aware of the ways that people are interacting with me, right? Yeah, so, but I think that the longer I'm on testosterone and the more that I move through the world and I'm read as masculine, the more I'm also read as a gay man. And that has been its own learning experience. Because I had no idea, like, what that experience is like, right? But there's a lot of, like, aggression towards people who are perceived as gay men. And, like, street harassment and, yeah. I mean, like, when I was younger, I used to be called a dyke. And so it's interesting to, like, over time, now I'm called a fag, you know? But it seems like it cuts a little deeper, like this word fag. So I don't know, yeah, it's fascinating. But I think it's all, like, wrapped into, like, the body and, like, moving through social space. I think I started identifying as trans, maybe, like, in 2004. 2003, so like right as I was leaving my undergraduate program, but not really embracing that as an identity until maybe like 2005, 2006. So when I landed in Iowa, I didn't know anyone. I think that probably happens a lot. But I also was starting to firmly identify as a trans person around that time, and I had no idea how to like work within that, you know, like here's like a whole brand new group of people that I'm meeting for the first time, and I identify as trans and they're reading me as one way and yet I identify as another. So I just did like that first 2 years, like a lot of self-reflection, and began asserting my right to have different pronouns used in reference to me probably my third year, and that was challenging. Not for my cohort mates, but more so for some of the faculty members there. You know, like broadly, I think my research is about how people in the medical profession deal with uncertainty and how they lay claims to expertise in trans medicine. But in trans medicine, there's not the usual tools they have, right? So a lot of providers don't have clinical experience, and there's not like those long-term clinical trials. So the structure of trans medicine just raises a lot of anxiety for providers. Every semester I have more and more queer and trans identified students coming through my classrooms, and we talk about all that stuff. So it's hard, like in those spaces it's hard, like it would be hard I think to be that disembodied like professor voice in that kind of classroom, because it's such an intimate classroom, you know. This is not my usual work gear. This is the last day of the semester was, I guess the last day of classes was yesterday. So this is more of I'm sort of at work, but I don't feel like like, when I'm in the classroom, I think it's different than if I just come in to get work done. And I think it makes some faculty members uncomfortable, like having tattoos when they're visible. So my tattoos, like I can make, if I want to, if I'm wearing pants and a long sleeve shirt, I can make them disappear, right? Like, and no one would know until I get tenure and get my neck tattoo. But yeah, but I think when they are out and people don't know me or they're meeting me for the first time, and already I think like, I don't think I inhabit like a hegemonic masculinity, you know? I think it's more of like this gentle masculinity. And so people already are like, I don't know how to make sense of you, right? And then when you start adding all these other variables, it just seems like they're like, I actually really don't know what to make, like, what are you, right? And that, I don't know if that's just like the culture out here with some of the older faculty members, maybe a little more conservative, who have lived in this area for a long time. But yeah, it can be a little uncomfortable at moments in the interactions. Yeah, tattoos. I was 15. I'm so glad it's on my back. So like, I don't have to see it. I don't look at it. It's faded to the point where it's almost indecipherable. I don't even remember where I was. How did I get a tattoo at 15? Yeah, I think the next one was like a more of a breakup tattoo. So it was my first partnership. That was like I think it was like a 3-year partnership. And I kept, as I was like walking through town, I kept randomly hearing this Blind Melon song that like just really resonated with me. And so I put some of those lyrics onto my body. I ended up really just falling in love with elephants. I don't know. I think symbolically that elephants appear like really tough and but they're not really, and like human fingernails can scratch their skin and cause them to bleed. And so I don't know, I think in that metaphor like there was something that resonated for me. It started just with saying hope, because I think for me that's like both a perhaps strength and also a weakness. There's like this endless well of hope that people are good people. I think the next one might be a post-tenure, but there's, I don't know if you're familiar with them, they're called pangolins. They're these pretty small creatures, probably the closest in the US, it would be like I don't know, like an armadillo or something, but when they get scared, they curl up into these tight little balls, and they have like these shells that are like razors. So yeah, but I've been thinking about it and playing with it, and but the only place I can really imagine it is on my neck. So but but I don't, that just seems like I have to wait a little bit until I get through some of the hurdles of being an assistant professor.